How to Create a Glitch Monologues Season 25 Chapter 3. This is Season 25 of How to Create a Glitch in the Matrix Monologues Episode 3. In this episode, we will be elaborating on the nature of the relationship between the various cycles of bodily rhythm and the equation outlined in the last episode, governing them. First of all bodily rhythms fall into one of the power levels from -1, -2, -3, etc. When a rhythm moves from one power level to the next, it displaces any rhythms in the level it assumes. So, for example, let's say you are a smoker. Ordinarily, for you, smoking falls in a -2 power level. Which is to say that the ratio of the time it takes for the task at the end of each cycle divided by the cycle period is equal to 0.01 through to 0.099. And urination falls in a -3 level, which is to say that the ratio of the time it takes for the task at the end of each cycle divided by the period of that cycle is equal to 0.001 through to 0.0099. Now, if you were to, for example, abstain from cigarettes for an extended period of time, this will automatically reduce your ratio to less than 0.01, bringing it into the power level of urination at 0.0099. On the balance, urination would then go above 0.0099 and extend temporarily into the power level of smoking. In other words, these cycles do not coexist. If you bring one cycle below the power level of another's range, it displaces the latter into its former range. So that's the first point that must be made. The second is that these ranges are predicted by the equation time for task over period of task is equal to time for task last cycle over period of last cycle plus, or minus, e, times 10 to the negative the power range. If the rhythm is in its regular power range, so for example, urination should be -3, then it will add e, times 10 to the negative 3. If it is above its regular power range, for example, if you abstain from cigarettes and that ratio falls into -3, then it is -e, times 10 to the negative 3. Now, what this tells us is the following. Number 1. Rhythms exist in separate power levels, -3, -2, -1. If you move one into another through abstaining from one, then you displace the other into the first's power range. Abstinence in relation to one rhythm generates an inflection point in the ratios of another, causing it to rise or fall in ratio until it moves to the other's power level. Effectively, you can think of a bodily rhythm as existing in a particular orbit. It likes to exist in a stable orbit, and when you artificially move it to another orbit, this displaces another rhythm in its place. The shifting of a rhythm to another orbit causes an inversion of the second part of the equation. If it is in its proper orbit, then you add e, times 10 to the negative exponent, power level. If it is in the wrong orbit, then you subtract e, times 10 to the negative exponent, original power level. All of this tells us the following. Ordinarily, your consensuality component is the second of the two on the right side of the equation, when in its ordinary power level. But if you abstain, then you are shifting the consensuality component to the first component, and the non-consensuality component to the second component. You are inverting the two. I hope this is clear, although it would assist the listener if I could show you what I mean. I will, as always, be posting a transcript of this episode on the Buzzsprout website where you can access the episodes publicly as well as the transcripts. That's the end of the podcast for today. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe.